Welcome to Voice of the Pride. I'm President Leon Jones III. Voice of the Pride amplifies student voices by talking about the issues, profiling our student leaders, and highlighting student talent. Today, we're going to be profiling our student leader, Amaya Jordan. Amaya Jordan is a junior majoring in business administration with a concentration in economics and a minor in political science. She hopes to be a civil rights attorney one day, and she also hopes to start a nonprofit for women and children. But that's about Amaya Jordan, the student. Today, let's talk about Amaya Jordan, the SGA President-elect. Hey, Amaya.
Hey, Leon.
So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, let's start a little bit about your journey to becoming SGA president. Let's unpack that a little bit. And, from the time that you were a freshman on the yard to now you're a junior, going into your senior year.
Yes.
Let's talk about how you got on the journey to becoming the SGA president.
So the journey to being SGA president, what a journey it was. So first it started off as a thought. I pretty much didn't really want to run for SGA president just because it was something typical of me. I've always been involved in student government since freshman year, and I kind of wanted to, step out of my comfort zone, just do something that wasn't typical of me. So at first I was going to run for Miss Senior actually. But then, I just had a conversation with myself, and it was just the thought of my purpose. Like, how can I be purposeful on campus and truly just be who I am without too much of me having to readapt to like a whole different position or something like that? So running for SGA president, the final decision, what made me just really, truly just turn my paperwork in and just be like, okay, we're going to do this, was me just having that conversation with myself and talking about my purpose and just really feeling like that I can be really purposeful on campus and leave an impactful legacy if I just run for SGA president. So that was the final decision.
That's cool. So it sounds like the way that you feel like you'll leave the best impact on campus and the way that you'll fulfill what you believe that you're on campus to do is through being SGA president.
Right.
Nice. And so the steps leading up to SGA president, freshman year, what were you doing freshman year? What were you doing sophomore year? What were you doing junior year that also may have helped play into a role of, okay, now I'm going to pull the plug and run for SGA president?
Right. So freshman year, I came in on the yard very eager to join absolutely everything. But I first ran as freshman senator, so I served that. That was my first true introduction into student government and student leadership. And then sophomore year, I ran once again as a sophomore senate. And I feel like me running again as sophomore senate was just me just being comfortable in the position and just you wanted to, I was involved, but not too much to where it was kind of like a huge responsibility. And then, of course, junior year, I didn't run for any student government positions just because because COVID, for one, kind of interrupted our college experience. So I really didn't feel the need. And then two, I kind of also wanted to take a turn and just be impactful outside of campus. So junior year, I pretty much joined a lot of grassroots organizations such as like Girls for Gender Equity. And then I joined like the Lighthouse, the Black Girl Project. So junior year currently is me really just taking a step back from, student organization and getting leadership skills from outside organizations.
That's cool. And let's talk about your time within SGA a little bit, just that way, students understand your background there a little bit. And so what were those moments in the Senate that you were either enjoyed SGA because clearly you liked it enough to run again, and now you've liked it enough to want to be SGA president. So what were some of those moments within SGA that made you stick around?
So it's just the eagerness and the love that you and your cabinet have for this university. It just really makes you just want to be a part of student government. Like I worked with Gerard White, I worked with DeKalin Ford, just working with those people really just like-minded individuals, basically. Just working with similar like-minded individuals just made me really continue to stay in student government because we all have this love for this university. We all see the vision for the university and just being able to, want to push activities and, traditions that just make this university and this campus life as a whole just enjoyable. So just being surrounded that type of environment just really just made me stick into government.
Awesome. Well, now we've heard a little bit about Amaya Jordan, her time in SGA, and next we'll talk about her vision. And so we'll take a little bit of a break, and when we come back, let's talk about your vision for SGA and where you hope to see SGA in a year.
Yes.
You feel it from the moment you enter our campus. It's a legacy of greatness. We are the Golden Lion family, committed to innovation and truth. We all come from different places, but now call the Pride Lands home. Whether it's the sciences, arts, or business, we're shaping the minds that one day will reshape the world. The University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Become a part of the Pride.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
So last time, Amaya, we talked a little bit about your influences for getting involved in SGA and, you know, those moments within SGA that made you want to stay around. And you talked about being with your cabinet and everybody working together, but now you're the headline in charge. And so it's going to be up to you to set the vision and set the pace moving forward. And so let's talk about that vision a little bit. And where do you see SGA being in a year? What do you want to accomplish in a year? And what do you want students to know about, you know, you coming in terms of advocacy that you want to do, being in the role and position of SGA president?
So I run on the platform of A Different World, Reimagining UAPB. I told a lot of our students that I kind of wanted to bring back some of the old yard while just bringing new things to, you know, sustain it. So talking with, you know, certain alumni and talking with people outside of going to different HBCUs like Tennessee State and just Fisk University, like talking with those, I kind of just realized that there was somewhat of a disconnect within SGA and our student body, which is unfortunately due to COVID-19. Within a year, I kind of want to see SGA to be more knowledgeable because of the COVID-19. A lot of our students don't really understand what Student Government Association is and what's its purpose and what it's supposed to be. So working towards that and just making sure that it's knowledgeable and things like that. And then two, bringing back just certain old traditions like a yearbook. So like I said, I talked with a lot of our older alumni and they were kind of hurtful to see that we no longer have a yearbook and stuff like that. So because they kind of described it as one of the best moments, like looking forward to seeing that yearbook, having those memories and things like that. So like I said, just bring back some of our old traditions while also implementing new things. Like I said, I talked with other students at other HBCUs like FAMU, who has like a set Friday where similar to our Pride Friday that kind of sort of died down, but, you know, just bring back certain things that, you know, just make the environment just more enjoyable as a whole.
So it seems like you kind of want to participate in a HBCU renaissance. In a way, right? And kind of making the yard, I guess, the yard. Again, right? And so some of the things my administration did this year, you know, we started the recycling project on campus, scooters. That was, I feel like, a pretty big hit. We made sure to work with student activities to bring some of those activities to campus, and some other traditions that will be starting at the end of this year. I don't want to hit them quite yet, but what, in terms of advocacy work, right? A lot of SGA work happens behind the scenes, and a lot of SGA work, you know, is putting pen to paper and working with administrators, XYZ, and so in terms of policy advocacy, what do you want to do there with SGA?
So one real big thing that I kind of am looking forward to doing is sort of kind of reforming our election board. So every year, unfortunately, we have that same conversation with the election board, and just looking at other schools where you see that those positions are kind of elected versus with our school, it's elected within the organization versus, like I said, with other schools, it's outside. Like they do elections as if, running for SGA and royal court and things like that. So kind of just changing policy surrounding that. And then also, one thing that I kind of just wanted to bring was, like I said, the communication with our administration, SGA, and then student body, because I feel like all three is like a huge, real big disconnect. So kind of just talking with like certain students and stuff like that, pushing towards, sort of getting our constitution, reformed, so where it's like it's mandatory versus like it's not a up in the air type of thing, whereas versus it's real mandatory for us to, have these conversations within the three bodies, like the student body, the SGA, and the administration. So just certain policies surrounding that is something that I'm looking forward to, working towards and doing.
Awesome. Well, now we've heard a little bit about Amaya in terms of what she wants to do in policy and what she also wants to do in terms of the student body and advocacy there. And so we're going to take a little bit of a break, and when we come back, we'll have maybe a little open dialogue between you. You can ask me questions.
Yes.
I'll become the interviewer for a little bit. Awesome. I'm happy to answer them. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll dive into that.
When I was 6, I had one thing on my mind. When I was 6, my days were spent playing basketball every chance I could. When I was 6, my dream was to make it to the NBA. When I was 6, my mom had a stroke.
I'm Paul George, and I want you to learn the signs of a stroke fast. F-A-S-T.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. Because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery.
Protect the ones you love.
Spot a stroke. F-A-S-T. Fast.
Who does not love great hospitality? If you like traveling to local resorts and exotic places, planning events from weddings, music festivals, or a sports all-star game weekend, touring the wonders of the world, or hiking with a touch of glamping, a degree in hospitality can get you there. A hospitality degree prepares you for an exciting business management career with an immediate job placement. Internships, scholarships, leadership, hospitality.
Awesome. So now we talked to Amaya a little bit about, your influences for getting at SGA, your past work in SGA. We also talked about your vision for the school and where you want to see the school going. But, now I want to turn the floor over to you a little bit.
Yes.
And if you have any questions for me, as the outgoing, because April 29th, I'm done.
Oh.
And it's all on you. And so, any questions that you have for me, feel free to ask.
Okay.
Or if you just want to pick my brain in any type of way, and we can just kind of have an open dialogue here about SGA.
I definitely have a question. So one question would be like, so how did your view about campus change? Because, as a student, you're on the outside looking in. You don't really know the behind the scenes and what's really going on. So did your view about campus change?
It definitely did. And so being the SGA president, what you have to understand is that, while you're the voice of the students, right? And like the show, the voice of the pride, you also have to understand that you're an extension of the administration, right? And so my check comes from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. And so you essentially have to speak for two bodies, and you have to understand how to communicate with both of those bodies as well. And so there's some days where I feel like a translator, right? Where it's like, okay, I have to take the message that the students have, and I have to deliver that message in a way to where it makes sense to administrators, right? But then I also have to put on my administrator hat sometimes and be like, hey, students, I know that this may be something that you all want, but that's not feasible for whatever reason. And I have to be able to explain that to our students as well. And so just understanding that you're an extension of the administration while you're also the voice of the pride is really big in being the SGA president. And if you're able to go into the position on April 29th, whenever you start, if you're able to go into it with that mindset, then you'll start off better than a lot of SGA presidents have in the past. So, yeah.
So what was your most memorable moment then? Because SGA is a big responsibility.
It's a super big responsibility. What was my most? There are a lot of memorable moments
because it's definitely hard work.
Yeah, and you have to work hard. My most that's a really good question. My most memorable moment is probably from last semester. So this is kind of a funny moment. And we were at the state capitol. And so that was one thing that we started, kind of a Capitol Day for UAPB. And I hope that that's something that you'll be able to continue in the future. But my advisor's going to hate me for saying this, but we're at the Capitol, and I felt my nose starting to run a little bit while we're talking to state legislators, right? And I was like, this is odd. And I, let me excuse myself and go to the restroom real quick. And I get in the restroom, I blow my nose, and like my nose just starts gushing blood. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm in a full suit, tie and everything, in the bathroom, nose bleeding. God. And I text my advisor, and I'm like, I'm in the bathroom, my nose is like bleeding, and there's blood everywhere.
You're freaking out.
And so I was freaking out. And so I called him, told him about it, and he was like, okay, it's fine, everything is fine. And we're literally both, have you watched Scandal before?
Yes.
Okay, so we're both like cleaning up blood, like as if we're like cleaning up this like crime scene.
Oh my God.
And then we go back out like nothing happened. And that was one of the most memorable moments, because it was one of those things like, you got to get it together, and you go back out and you just start talking as if nothing's happened. But it's also this lesson in like collaboration. It's this lesson in, being able to work with the team, your advisor, that communication that's there. And so, have those relationships with your advisor, have that relationship, with your cabinet as well. So you can communicate with them like, hey, I'm not doing well right now. I need y'all to hold it down while I'm out. And so there were a lot of lessons there. And communication was a big piece. And so as long as you also have that going in, like, you'll be fine. Do you have a last question?
Yes, so my last question definitely would be, as a senior, this is the last of everything, but also as SGA president, you have this huge responsibility. You basically about to start working 8 to 5. So how did you manage being a student and enjoying your senior year while also being SGA president-elect?
A lot of late nights. Because it's really a 9 to 5. And so while I'm in the office by day, like, you can ask my roommate, at night I'm in my room handling my business, I'm applying to grad school, I'm doing my own classwork. And there's a lot of working with your teachers as well. Hey, I kind of need an extension because I'm doing a lot right now. I'm juggling a lot. And so, being able to just work with your peers as well, asking for grace is a big thing. But and giving yourself grace as well. There were a lot of times where I had to say, I know I have a lot right now, but I just need a self-care day. So I can take care of myself and make sure my mental's good. Because if my mental isn't good, then everything else falls apart.
Like
and so being sure that, you're taking care of yourself while also handling your business is really a big thing. But a lot of late nights. And then I also got a task manager this year to help organize my life a little bit more. And so I'll share that with you if you like it. But that was it. So
I'm excited. I can't wait.
That's good. Well, thank you for joining me, Amaya. I really appreciate it. I hope that you were able to get something out of this conversation.
Of course.
I hope our student body was able to get something out of this conversation. I hope that, next year you're able to continue the voice of the pride as well. And so I wish you the best of luck as SGA president.
You.
As usual, if you ever need anything, you have my number. Feel free to reach out.
Of course.
But I'm done April 29th. and it's on you. And so with that, UAPB students, have a great one, and we'll see you next time on Voice of the Pride.
See you later.